Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening. Tenants are facing the prospect of finding new homes, with private rental properties being taken off the market and added to the state's social housing stock. Labor says the move does nothing to address overall supply, as the government claims its new build targets are still in place.
Making the switch from private to public. These 4 suburban Launceston units have been purchased by Homes Tasmania.
We need to be dealing with every sector of the housing market to take pressure off the social and affordable housing waiting list.
In June, 276 properties were added to the state's social housing stock. 47 of those were older homes purchased. Another 36 newly constructed ones bought.
Do you agree this buying spree did nothing to lift the overall supply of housing, as you've claimed is so important?
Claiming it's blocking aspiring homeowners. Homes Tasmania at pains to say no tenants have been evicted, but it appears leases won't be renewed. The goal to build 10,000 homes looks unaffected.
As part of the remit for Homes Tasmania, they will also acquire properties when it makes strategic sense.
While the Greens label Airbnb the biggest threat to stock. Short stay properties up 20% nationally, the majority previously homes.
Something the Institute says is a driving force behind the rental crisis.
In our view as a government, short stay accommodation is just one of the many factors in the broader housing and long-term rental markets.
The Housing and Education Ministers touring a new youth accommodation pilot today as the state looks to meet demand in that sector.
So this is a really important grey area before that we didn't have dedicated services for, that we've designed a response for with the help of Mission Australia.
Whether that is domestic violence services, sexual assault, assistance with drug and alcohol, and anything in between.
Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
The Premier has apologised to 2 Tasmanians who had their prosthetic legs lost by the Health Department. One of the men has been wheelchair bound for 2 years while seeking a replacement.
What Mr Bishton has experienced is utterly unacceptable.
Right. It is.
And I apologise for that.
This is one of the most outrageous examples of negligence that I've ever seen in my time as an MP.
Despite labelling an inquiry into the Launceston General Hospital Emergency Department as a disgrace last week, the Health Minister today announced it would cover all 4 of the state's public hospitals. A large-scale search of Tasmania's north coast has failed to find any sign of a missing fisherman. The alarm was raised on Sunday night when experienced boatie Kerry Frankham didn't return from a solo fishing trip. His boat was found adrift off the coast of Beachford early yesterday, but there was no sign of the 75-year-old. The Westpac Rescue Helicopter and Marine Police spent the day scouring the area, admitting they hold significant concerns for Mr Frankham's welfare. The debate over Tasmania's controversial salmon industry has resurfaced after an Upper House MP moved a motion in support of the sector. Anti-fish farm campaigners accusing Tanya Rattray of bringing spin into Parliament, but the industry says their concerns are overblown.
Rising to the floor of the Legislative Council, the member for McIntyre was ready to rock the boat.
It's not to be dismissed in any way, shape or form. We know that there are a lot of Tasmanians, Mr President, who rely on this industry.
Tanya Rattray moving a motion to acknowledge the recent Deloitte report outlining salmon farming's impact on the economy. Also asking the council to recognise it as a vital societal and economic contributor.
The employment opportunities for people in our regional communities is really important.
Some inside the chamber remaining wary.
I'm always cautious about taking at face value glossy brochures or reports with more pictures than detail.
While those outside were smelling something fishy.
The multinational salmon industry has reached into the very heart of Tasmanian democracy.
Complete negation of, negating of the science that is being raised.
Dismissing the motion as industry spin, activists say the plight of the endangered moorhen skate should serve as a wake-up call. However, Salmon Tasmania says today's events are nothing new.
Independent MLPs do motions like this on industries all the time. I mean, wearing mould hat, there was ones on tourism all the time, so I don't think it's unusual.
Calling for sensible debate, Mr Martin accused protesters of using today's proceedings to fish for rage.
I just think it's one of these angles that the activists continue to throw at the industry just to try and undermine the industry.
Yet another hurdle to be overcome by real Tasmanians who understand what a damage this industry does.
The war over the health of our waterways showing no signs of ending. John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
Leading Indigenous activist Noel Pearson has continued campaigning for the Voice referendum in Tasmania, meeting state Labor MPs at Parliament House this afternoon. Despite polling showing it's on course to be defeated, he believes there's time to change the minds of those considering voting no on October 14.
A middle-aged lady who's told me from the outset she was going to vote no, but she wanted some answers to some questions she had. At the end of our conversation, she told me, OK, now I understand.
We have an opportunity to set the course of our nation and our state towards a better future.
Mr Pearson also says he's confident a majority of Tasmanians will support the plan. Those who've given evidence at the Commission of Inquiry into Institutional Sexual Abuse are anxiously awaiting its findings. The mother of one victim survivor says she's thankful for the chance to be heard and hopeful of change so nobody has to go through a similar trauma.
Our youngest and most vulnerable failed. Too many Tasmanian families are still haunted by child sexual abuse.
It's going to forever because, my daughter's the most vulnerable of children that is out there, and I'm always going to feel like I've let her down and there's nothing I can do about it.
Lisa's daughter has quadriplegic cerebral palsy and is non-verbal. While at the LGH for treatment, she was preyed upon by paedophile nurse James Jeffrey Griffin.
We've actually had no choice but to go back to the LGH because we're local, and it is really hard.
The Commission heard evidence from many like Lisa or victim survivors themselves, incredibly thankful for the help they've offered families like theirs.
They made it very easy for me to speak, unlike other people that I've dealt with in the past,
Her complaints at the time went unanswered, or she was told there was no proof. The Commission's findings and recommendations will be made public on September 26. Many of those who've overseen past and current failures will now be in charge of implementing change. For her daughter and all those still to go through the doors of the LGH, Lisa is urging culture change before it's too late.
I would give anything to go back to that first day I had suspicions and know what I know now. I would give anything.
Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
And if you or anyone you know needs help or this story has caused distress, contact the Sexual Assault Support Service on 1800 697 877. A troupe of talented performers are putting their bodies on the line, ready to welcome back Junction Arts Festival with a smackdown. Assembly 197, Mudlark and Tasmanian Championship Wrestling joining forces to bring the show to life, promising to keep audiences on the edge of their seats. Big Heat follows the journey of local wrestling celebrity Izzy, representing the trials and tribulations of going from fan to face of the show.
Find where you belong, find your fans, people that make you feel good, and also just discovering how other people get back up.
I reckon it's the first time in the world that there's been a show that is theatre, dance, wrestling and circus all together.
The first slam of Big Heat is next Thursday night at Launceston's Milton Hall. Well, half of all Tasmanians die without a will, according to the Public Trustee. A new campaign is hoping to improve those statistics, encouraging people to plan for their future, no matter how old they are. The Trustee says younger people often believe they don't have enough assets to need a will.
A will's really important to look after things like your bank account, your car, it could be the bond you've paid on your rental, and even non-financial assets like your pets or social media accounts.
Anybody over the age of 18 is able to make a will. As we go to air, hundreds of primary school students are taking to the stage as Singfest returns for another year. The talented youngsters have spent the day warming up their vocal cords, promising a 2-night singing spectacular.
fine-tuning a perfect show, eager to make audiences smile.
I was really excited because I like to do singing. It's one of my biggest passions.
More than 500 primary school students hoping to be pitch perfect, dusting off the songbook to welcome back Singfest with a bang.
Students having fun, coming together, singing in a non-competitive way and enjoying themselves.
Months of rehearsals coming down to the final shows.
Super fun with all the people just around and being able to practice not just with your school but with lots of other schools, so it's very collaborative.
Each school will have its own moment to step into the spotlight before leaving their rivalries in the wings, coming together as one for the ultimate sing-along.
It has been amazing seeing it all come together today and seeing all of these 7 schools singing together, maybe for the first time in a mass choir.
There will be one voice emerging from the masses. Picked to lead the choir in perfect harmony.
I'm really excited, and I don't get nervous a lot because I've already had the experience, so I don't really get stage fright.
Joining a chorus of talented students filling Launceston's door of hope for 2 evening spectaculars.
The stage is an amazing sound when it all comes together.
Ready to sing their hearts out.
Please don't let the teacher fall on me.
Victoria Easto, 7 Tasmania News.
Parents and their premature babies can now breathe a little easier following successful findings from a 14-year clinical trial in Hobart. Almost 500 babies were given a natural substance to limit the effects of respiratory disease and promote healthy lungs.
For Mark and Sarah De Jong, bringing their daughter Eva into the world happened much sooner than they planned.
Quite overwhelming, when they're first born and they put them in their little cribs and you can't touch them or hold them.
After 12 gruelling hours, Eva was born prematurely at 27 weeks and 5 days, weighing just 1,200 grams. In her first moments of life, she formed part of a major clinical trial.
We didn't even hesitate, did we?
No, we didn't.
The trial, named Optimist A, saw around 500 premature babies from 11 countries be tested for a new way to combat breathing problems. 2 years later, it found remarkable changes to their overall respiratory health and no difference in neurodevelopmental outcomes.
There was a 1/3 reduction in the need for hospitalisation with a respiratory illness in the first 2 years of life, from 38% down to 25%.
The Hobart method sees a mixture of natural fats and proteins which promote lung expansion delivered into the lungs via a catheter instead of a breathing tube, encouraging little ones to breathe for themselves.
Babies born prematurely lack that substance and manifest that as a respiratory distress syndrome where they struggle to breathe and need oxygen.
The next step forward is to make the procedure as simple and tolerable as possible, given similar methods are already being adopted across the globe.
Such a significant improvement in respiratory health will cement the place of this therapy for preterm infants worldwide.
So more children like Eva can grow up happy and healthy.
I think any parent knows you just do what you have to do.
Ruby Cairns, 7 Tasmania News.
University and Northwest graduates are expecting penalty corners to play a big role in this weekend's Premier League Hockey Men's Grand Final. The two sides met just a fortnight ago in the semi-final, with that game decided in a shootout. Both sides wary of what the other can do from the baseline.
So they've got three players that can score goals from penalty corners, so it always makes it difficult.
They're penalty corners as well. We've got Ben at the top of the PCs, and it's also their counter-attacks.
In the women's, both Diamondbacks and Northwest graduates say defending the counter-attack will be the key to victory.
They got really good counter-attack. They've got really quick forwards, and if they can get past you, then it's almost good as a goal.
They're very clinical in front of goals, so we're very worried about that, and their penalty corner battery can be very dangerous.
A win for the Diamondbacks would break a 20-year premiership drought.
Good evening. Today, Hobart, Launceston and Burnie all 18, a degree cooler with 17 in Devonport. Bushy Park, the state's top with 19 degrees, St Helens and Friendly Beaches 18. The Islands, Smithton, Lowhead and Grove all 17. Maria Island and Strawn 15, Lyweenie a top of 13. Today we saw low-level cloud mostly about the west and east coasts, with some high clouds streaming over Tasmania from the west. Bands of mid-level cloud passes over southern western parts of WA. Low cloud is seen partially covering the state, eastern parts of Queensland, New South Wales, stretching to the top end. Tomorrow, a large high-pressure system moves over southeastern Australia. A trough crosses coastal parts of southern WA as a strong cold front follows behind the trough, lying just off the coast of Western Australia. West to northwesterly winds 10 to 20 knots, building up to 30 knots about the west and south, 30 to 40 knots about the south in the afternoon, winds building up to 30 knots about the northeast. The west and south can expect southwesterly swells building to 3 metres in the south and up to 2 metres in the west. Tomorrow, a gale warning has been issued for waters between Tasman Island to Low Rocky Point. There is also a strong wind warning between east of Flinders Island to Tasman Island and also for the central west coast. The warning extends to the Derwent Estuary, Frederick Henry, Norfolk and Storm Bays, the Channel, Banks Strait and Franklin Sound. Tomorrow, Hobart and Bothwell partly cloudy, 23 degrees, 21 and partly cloudy in Geeston. Launceston partly cloudy, 20 partly cloudy in Devonport with 17 and similar conditions in Cressy. Cloudy about the west tomorrow, 19 in Burnie, 18's the top for Strawn and 17 in Curry. St Helens partly cloudy, 21, 22 in Swansea with similar conditions and 23 in Alford. Taking a look now to the 3-day forecast. It's warming up on Thursday and we can expect fine and mostly sunny conditions across the state with warm north to northwesterly winds. Friday, showers about the west with possible light showers elsewhere. Those showers will continue about the west on Saturday, likely to extend statewide during the day with possible hail expected about the southwest. To the mainland tomorrow, 23 and smoke haze expected in Sydney, sunny in Adelaide with a top of 26 and late showers for Brisbane. And currently in Hobart, it's partly cloudy with 12 degrees, mostly clear with 14 in Launceston and clear in Devonport with 14. Kim, it looks like we can look forward to a couple of lovely days ahead.
I do love those temperatures. Thank you very much there, Kaya. And that is all your news for now. I'll be back later with updates. Thanks for joining us. For now, it's good night.